The rain hammered the roof of the old community center like 1,000 fists, each drop a reminder that the river had no mercy left to give. Sarah Jenkins stood in the doorway, her boots sunk in mud that sucked at her heels, watching as the floodwaters crept closer, swallowing the parking lot inch by inch. A young boy, no more than 10, clung to her leg, his face streaked with dirt and tears. "My dog's out there," he whimpered, pointing toward the swirling brown torrent where the street used to be. Sarah's hands trembled as she gripped the doorframe, the cold seeping through her soaked jacket. She knew she should turn back, wait for the rescue teams that might never come, but the boy's eyes, wide and desperate, pulled at something deep inside her, a knot she'd spent years trying to ignore. She didn't think. She just moved. "Stay here," she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her throat. Grabbing a coil of rope from the supply closet, she tied one end around her waist and the other to the porch railing. The water hit her like a wall when she waded in, knee-deep and rising, the current tugging at her legs with vicious intent. Debris floated past, branches, a child's bicycle wheel, pieces of someone's life. The dog was a speck in the distance, barking hoarsely from the roof of a submerged car. Sarah pushed forward, her breath coming in sharp gasps, the rope her only lifeline. When she reached the car, the dog leaped into her arms, shivering and wild-eyed. She turned back, the boy watching from the doorway, and for a split second, the world narrowed to that single thread of connection amid the chaos. By the time Sarah hauled herself back inside, the center was filling up with stragglers, neighbors she'd seen at the grocery store but never spoken to, families huddled under blankets, their faces etched with the same numb shock. The power had flickered out hours ago, leaving the room lit by flashlights and the occasional glare of lightning. Sarah wiped the water from her face, her clothes clinging like a second skin, and scanned the room. Old Mr. Harlan from down the block sat in the corner, staring at his hands. The Ramirez family clustered together, whispering in Spanish. And there was Ellen, the librarian, passing out stale crackers from the kitchenette. No one was in charge. The mayor was stuck across town, the fire department overwhelmed. Sarah's chest tightened. She wasn't a leader. She was just a clerk at the hardware store, the one who rang up nails and paint without making small talk. But the boy's grateful nod as he hugged his dog, it ignited something. "We need to organize," she said aloud, surprising herself. Heads turned. "Who's got food? Water? Blankets?" Silence hung for a beat, then voices murmured, hands raised. And just like that, the ordinary shifted. The town of Willow Creek, nestled in the rolling hills of southern Indiana, had always been the kind of place where people nodded hello but kept their troubles private. Sarah had lived there her whole life, 42 years of quiet routines. Mornings at the store, evenings alone in her bungalow with a book and a glass of cheap wine. Her husband, Tom, had died 5 years back in a car wreck on the interstate. Drunk driver, they said. But Sarah knew it was the silence between them that had worn him down first. They'd lost their daughter, Lily, when she was 8, to a fever that came on too fast, the kind no one saw coming. After that, words failed them. Tom retreated into his garage workshop, Sarah into her shifts at work. Now, with the Wabash River bursting its banks after days of relentless storms, the town was unraveling, and Sarah found herself at the center of it, piecing things together one soggy blanket at a time. That first night in the center, she didn't sleep. She inventoried supplies by flashlight. Canned goods from the pantry, bottled water stacked in crates, a generator humming faintly in the back room. People trickled in as the waters rose, farmers from the outskirts, single moms with kids in tow, the elderly couple from the trailer park whose home was now underwater. Sarah assigned tasks without fanfare. "You sort the clothes. You boil water on the camp stove." Her voice was calm, but inside doubt gnawed. Who was she to tell them what to do? She'd barely held herself together after Lily, let alone Tom. Memories surfaced unbidden. The sterile hospital smell, Lily's small hand going limp in hers. She pushed them down, focusing on the tangible. A child's cough that needed syrup, a leaking roof patched with tarps. By morning, the rain eased to a drizzle, but the damage was done. Roads were impassable, bridges out. News trickled in via a battery-powered radio. Dozens missing, homes destroyed, the National Guard en route but delayed. Sarah stepped outside, the air thick with the scent of mud and decay. Her neighbor, Mike Harlan, Mr. Harlan's son, a burly mechanic with a perpetual scowl, approached, his truck idling on higher ground. "Heard you're playing hero in there," he said, spitting tobacco juice into the muck. "Town's got real problems. You think handing out sandwiches fixes that?" Sarah met his gaze, her jaw set. "Someone's got to start." Mike snorted but tossed a bag of tools from his truck bed. "For the leaks." It was a small concession, but it mattered. Back inside, tensions simmered. The Ramirez matriarch, Rosa, argued with Ellen over space. Too many people, not enough room. Sarah mediated quietly, suggesting shifts for sleeping. She felt the weight of eyes on her, the unspoken questions. Why her? She wondered the same, but action filled the void where grief had hollowed her out. As days blurred, Sarah's efforts grew. She coordinated with volunteers who arrived by boat, turning the center into a hub: food distribution, medical aid from a visiting nurse, even a makeshift school corner where kids drew pictures of sunnier days. But cracks appeared. Her sister, Beth, called from Indianapolis, her voice crackling over the spotty cell signal. "Sarah, come stay with us. This isn't your fight." Beth had always been the outspoken one, the one who left Willow Creek for a city job and a tidy life. "It's everyone's fight," Sarah replied, but the words tasted hollow. Beth knew about the nights Sarah still woke screaming Lily's name, about how Tom's death had left her adrift. "You're punishing yourself," Beth said, "hiding in that town like it's penance." Sarah hung up, her hands shaking. She hadn't told anyone, but the flood stirred old nightmares. The way the river's roar echoed the rush in her ears when Lily slipped away. She avoided the water's edge, delegating rescues to others. At work, before the storm, her boss, Mr. Grady, had offered her a promotion to manager, but she'd turned it down. "Not ready," she'd said. Now leading felt like betrayal, as if stepping forward meant leaving the pain behind. A twist came on the third day. A boat arrived with supplies from upstream, but among the crates was a letter from the county. Mandatory evacuation for low-lying areas, including the center. Panic rippled through the room. "We can't leave," Rosa said, her eyes fierce. "My son's still out there." Mike Harlan grumbled agreement, but others packed hurriedly. Sarah stood silent, the paper crumpling in her fist. Evacuate meant scattering, losing the fragile unity they'd built. But staying risked everything. The waters could rise again. She thought of Lily, how she'd clung to hope until the end, whispering, "Mama, it'll be okay." Sarah had believed her until it wasn't. That night, as thunder rumbled anew, Sarah sat alone in the dim kitchen, a cup of cold coffee in hand. The door creaked open. It was young Timmy, the boy with the dog. "Can't sleep," he said, sitting beside her. His dog, Buster, curled at their feet. Timmy's parents were among the missing, presumed swept away. "You saved Buster," he murmured. "Think you can save everyone?" Sarah's throat tightened. "I don't know." In the silence, she saw her own reflection in the window, tired eyes, lines etched deeper. For years she'd defined herself by loss. The mother who failed, the wife who drifted. But here, in this battered room, people looked to her not for who she'd been, but for what she did. The next morning brought another shift. Word spread of a family trapped in the old mill downstream. Mike volunteered his boat, but the current was treacherous. "Need someone light to navigate," he said, eyeing Sarah. Her stomach dropped. The mill was where Tom used to fish, where they'd scattered Lily's ashes. She hadn't been near it since. "I'll go," she said, the words escaping before doubt could stop them. The ride was a blur of spray and shouts, the boat bucking against the waves. As they neared, Sarah spotted them, a mother and two kids on the crumbling roof. The woman waved frantically, her face pale. Tying off, Sarah climbed first, the structure groaning underfoot. The mother, Clara, gripped her arm. Thank God. But as they helped the kids down, a beam cracked, sending debris into the water. One child slipped, dangling over the edge. Sarah lunged, grabbing his wrist, her body half off the roof. The river below churned, dark and unforgiving, mirroring the abyss she'd felt after Lily. "Hold on," she gasped, muscles burning. In that moment, fear crashed over her. Not just for the boy, but for herself, the part she'd buried. If she let go, it would all unravel. The center, the community, her fragile hold on meaning. With a final heave, she pulled him up, collapsing in a heap. Back at the center, word of the rescue spread like wildfire. People clapped her on the back, shared stories over soup. But Sarah slipped away to the porch, rain pattering softly now. Mike found her there. "Didn't think you had it in you," he said, almost softly. "Me neither," she admitted. For the first time she spoke of Lily. Not the details but the ache. Lost her young. Felt like the world ended. Mike nodded, staring at the horizon. "Lost my wife to cancer last year. Dad doesn't talk about it." Silence stretched, companionable. In that quiet, Sarah felt a thread connect. Not pity but understanding. The evacuation order loomed, but Sarah rallied them. "We stay together," she said in a meeting, her voice firm. They fortified the center, sandbagged the doors, rationed supplies. Twists came. A betrayal when a volunteer hoarded food, exposed by Ellen's quiet observation. A reconciliation when Beth arrived unannounced, helping distribute aid. "I'm sorry," Beth whispered, "for leaving you alone with it." Sarah hugged her, the embrace saying what words couldn't. The climax built on the fifth night. The radio crackled. Another storm front approaching, waters rising fast. Evacuation buses were en route, but not enough for everyone. Panic erupted, shouts, shoving. Sarah stood on a chair, heart pounding. "Listen," she called. "We've made it this far because we helped each other. Not because of me but all of us." But doubt flickered in their eyes. Then a scream from outside. The levee breaking, water surging toward the center. Chaos reigned as people scrambled for higher ground. Sarah grabbed Timmy, Buster in tow, but in the melee, she saw Clara's daughter separated, swept toward the flood. Time slowed. Sarah's deepest fear surfaced, the helplessness of loss, the guilt of survival. She'd frozen when Lily faded, blamed herself for not fighting harder. Now she dove into the shallows, the current yanking at her. "Grab my hand," she yelled. The girl reached, fingers slipping once, twice. Sarah pushed forward, ignoring the burn in her lungs, the pull of the past. Their hands locked and she dragged the girl back, collapsing on the steps as others pulled them up. The act shattered something inside her. Not broken but released. She wasn't redeeming the past. She was choosing the present. As the buses arrived, the community loaded up, a chain of hands passing belongings. The waters receded slowly over the following days, revealing a scarred landscape. Homes gutted, streets mud-caked. Sarah returned to her bungalow, half flooded but standing. She waded through, salvaging what she could. A photo of Lily smiling, Tom's old toolbox. Beth stayed, helping clean. "You're different," she said. Sarah nodded. "Not fixed. Just moving." Weeks later, the town began rebuilding. Sarah organized a volunteer day at the riverbank, planting willows, resilient trees that bent but didn't break. As the sun dipped, casting golden light on the water, she stood with Timmy, now fostered by the Ramirezes. Buster chased sticks, barking joyfully. Mike approached, handing her a sapling. "For your yard." She planted it, dirt under her nails, the earth cool and promising. No fanfare, no speeches. Just the quiet rustle of leaves, the murmur of voices, the slow knit of healing. In that moment, ordinary as it was, hope took root. Not triumphant but real, grounded in the mud they'd all waded through.